That is, I was not aware of, right? How a port can be dry.
The first and foremost thing is to get an IC code number, which is an import export code number. So you have to take this cargo to an ICD, to an ICD location.
What is the
Uh-huh.
role of automation and how many automation is there?
To be honest with you, it's limited.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone, once again in Lostic Unlock. Here we talk about Lostic supply chain and we try to give you all insight which is happening in industry. Today we are going to talk with Sadegh Jalali. He's managing director of Fulcrum Group, which is the fastest growing private CF operator. They have 200 plus clients and they are managing lots of import and export. In this podcast, we are going to talk how this works, how this things matters, how you can do export and import, and also we are going to talk about the processes which need to be do in this kind of export and import. So if you're a fan of shipping line or if you're a fan of understanding how this container big giant vessels work, this podcast is definitely for you. So let's start it.
Welcome, sir. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me and giving me this immense, privilege to be on your podcast. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Right. I would like to start with what exactly you do and what exactly you are doing so far. If you can little bit explain to the viewers.
I'm in the shipping and logistics industry since the past 12 years. I happen to be the owner of one company known as Fulcrum Shipping and Logistics Private Limited. Uh, Here we are basically, handling EXIM cargo. As a logistics company, we're handling imports and exports, basically freight forwarding. We do freight forwarding, we do transportation, and we do warehousing. So, and the entire logistics solutions we provide to the import exporter. So that is the in general what a normal logistics company does. We are the same.
Okay, so why you started this company? I mean, what was the need of coming to the logistics? I guess that time logistics was more, unorganized than the today is, right? So why you feel like that you should be in logistics and why you started that company?
So just I completed my masters in I completed my, sorry, not my masters, my bachelor's in banking and finance from London School of Economics International Programs. After that, I went into masters of shipping and logistics, and thereafter I came back to India, and I did a few years of internship with a CHA and with a freight forwarder, as well as then I worked a little bit with my father. So in it happens to be also my family business, where since we have been in the shipping and logistics business since the past six decades, from my grandfather to my father and my uncles, and now me. So that's how I got inspired, and then I decided to start my own venture into this logistics part of it.
Perfect. I can also see you share lots of content on LinkedIn, right? Every day you are writing something, you try to educate people, you're sharing your experiences, right? One thing which
Hmm.
totally stuck in my mind, that is dry port. That is, I was not aware of, right? How a port can be dry. What is that? Can you little bit explain about that?
So it's basically dry port is also known as an ICD in a very general term. It's known as an inland container depot. And an ICD, basically, inland container depot, is that when the vessels come to the port, from there on, it's either directly loaded on these rails from the port. These rails, it's loaded, the containers loaded on the rails, or like these, or on the transport, on the trucks, on the trailers, and this goes to the location, the ICD location. Basically, these ICDs are like interiors of India, and the main big hubs of ICDs are like in North India, especially Delhi, Ludhiana. You have at Indore, in Bitampur. So these are like really big ICD locations. Ahmedabad. Uh, so from there on, meaning these containers go into these ICD locations, and there it gets cleared. So where over there, ICDs where like the customs and the customs clear the containers, and over there like either an importer or exporter can take the delivery of the cargo, or they can load the cargo from there. So like a to and fro. It's just known as an ICD, as a inland container depot, but it's like kind of linked to the port, where it goes directly into the port, where it's actually clearance. The main thing about an ICD is where it's actually things are cleared. The customs actually sitting over there, and your container and your consignment gets cleared over there and goes directly to the port for your exports, or like import that way.
Perfect. So, I mean, every day we can see the trucks. We can see how exactly trucks are moving, what exactly happening on road. But most of the
Mhm,
people are not aware of how these vessels and containers move, right? What is the
mhm.
exact process? What is the steps which anyone have to take to do the export or import? Can you take us through that? Like, what are the paper you have to sign? How you book the container? Who own the vessels? How you make sure that your vessels getting loaded on time, right? What
Mhm.
exactly happened there?
So, first and foremost is on the export perspective. You first, an exporter needs to get his the first and foremost thing is to get an IC code number, which is an import export code number. Once he gets an IC code number, only then he can start, exporting.
Okay.
Once he gets an IC code number, uh, he has to find, like I'm talking from the export point of view, he has to first find, okay, what is my product which I'm planning to export. He finds a buyer in, say, country B. When he finds a buyer and the buyer is interested, that okay, fine, this is the product I want to buy from you, he gives an advance. And then it's like, all right, fine, I need to now do this export. I have like no idea about exports. So there he goes into, most probably, guys either goes to a freight forwarder, or he goes to a custom house agent, CHA, and tells them that okay, this is what I have a consignment, I need to do an export for that. So there on the custom. Yeah.
I I'm really sorry for cutting you down, but yeah, I literally wanted to know what is the difference between freight forwarder and CHA, and then we will
Yeah.
continue the story.
So freight forwarders are people are they're companies which do I mean which what do you call it? They take booking from shipping lines. They take container bookings from the shipping line at a lower rate, because they are in the industry, so they get at a lower rate, and they can offer a more cost efficient rate to the exporter. You know, that's where, and then they add like a slight margin to it. Sometimes freight forwarders also, like go to a CHA. They have like certain tie-ups with CHA, certain vendors. CHA is a custom house clearance agent. So basically, you have to pass a customs examinations and get that custom house agent license. So once you get the license, you're able to clear products, or you're able to clear consignments on behalf of the customs. Like you do that with your signature, that has a very big role in it, and you give that paper then to the customs saying that yes, from my perspective, this consignment and this cargo is fine. It's, and with in good terms, in good faith, the customs, like either sometimes they end up checking the containers, or at times, like with the good faith, they give the signatures for let export kind of a thing.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so yeah, so then exporter needs to either go to a CHA, a custom house agent, or like to a freight forwarder, and then tell them that this is what I want to export. So they take in their documentation from their purchase order, their packing list, and from there on, the entire process begins. As you are a new exporter, you will not be allowed to do a factory. You will not be given permission to do a factory stuffing. So you have to take this cargo to an ICD, to an ICD location, as we had just mentioned earlier. If you're inland, but if you're next to the port, like you have these places called CFS, container freight stations. So you take your cargo over there, and over there, like the cargo is it's like checked by the customs, physically verified by the customs, and then loaded into the containers. Now, once the cargo is cleared, once the cargo seems it's okay to export, the second step to it is to check on the vessel, to check on when is the vessel schedule uh, into India for place B. Where is the schedule? When is the vessel coming in? On those basis, you book the container from the shipping line, and then you of course you have to arrange for the transport, make the transport go to the container yard, load the container, bring it to either the CFS or to the ICD dry port, ICD, and then you do the loading of the container, and thereon it goes to the port. And then from the port, as per the schedule, what you have told, like what the schedule, as per the schedule, it's the containers loaded on the vessel, and thereon goes whatever transit time to point B, to place B, and then place B, like you give the delivery to your consignee that way. So that's the entire process which takes place.
Right, perfect. I just have one more thing to ask in this entire process, right? What is the
Uh-huh.
role of automation and how many automation is there? Because as you mentioned, it seems complex. It's what it seems. It is a complex process, right? To find a, CHA, then find a shipping line, and then waiting for the vessels, and then getting clearance, and then ICD. So many terms, so many people, so many checkpoints, right?
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
how this all things getting automated? What is the exact automation is there right now?
So basically, I mean, I would rather say that logistics, we have already reached a certain stage of automation. We have reached a certain level uh, where now only maybe artificial intelligence can, like assist us somewhere down the line, or where, like they can come into play. Automation is basically, see, we have certain softwares now in the logistics industry. Softwares are a very, very integral part. Softwares and communication and clarity, because there are so many people involved, so many from the CHA to the exporter, to the freight forwarder, to the transporter, and the vessel operator. So like that, around 4 to 5 people are involved in it. So automation, basically, if you ask me, just in the software part of it, where, where everything is, like entered into the system in a time manner, in a time frame. All right, this meaning this cargo has now entered the ICD or the CFS. It has to be entered in. All right, now it's there. After that, okay, has the customs. Once you get the customs permission to let export, it has to be entered in the system. Okay, that is let exported. Then after that, all right, uh, place the booking. Speak to the shipping line, or request the shipping line to give you the booking for the container. All that has to be, like, there's a software, and you have to just go as per the software. Where you that is why documentation in shipping is a pretty important role over here. The documentation and your coordination, and just the software. Otherwise, I mean, no other automation can take place over here. No, I mean, you cannot. We cannot expect something where things are paper. Okay, yes, they are going paperless, but this is a product. This is like a kind of the hard products. Like, these are cargoes, so not too much of automation can take place over here. We have reached a certain peak, if you ask me, but more than that, I don't know whether, I mean, it's only, I think, artificial intelligence can just maybe do something different that way. Yeah, so I guess that way. So automation is, I mean, everybody's tried, we're all trying, but I mean, it's limited. If you ask me, to be honest with you, it's limited.
Yeah, so it's, I mean, you really mention a correct point that coordination is the important key player here, right? You have to
Yeah,
coordinate with each and every point of stakes, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just
Okay.
basically it's just basically, sorry to interrupt, it's just basically communication and coordination, which is absolutely key and core for the entire cycle of this logistics to go smooth and to be smooth.
Hmm.
That's a
Or
very
I'll
integral. Hmm.
I'd also like to know about what happened if any container get damaged or lost. The way recently our vessel get you know into accident with the US bridge, right? I'm not able to recall the name, but
Yeah.
what happened with this scenarios? Cause uh, company got insurance for those container, or is there any other things they can do? Time has been wasted. What? Cause lots of shipping line complaints about the loss of container or goods or something like that, right? Because there are so many checkpoints and container got lost, right? So what
Mhm.
exactly happened after that?
So you see, insurance in shipping is it's very important. It's a very important integral part from the exporter's point of view, from the shipping line point of view, from the transporter point of view. So we happen to take, as you said, okay, maybe like your container. It depends where the container gets damaged. If your container, for example, gets damaged in transit from your factory, or like from your factory to the port, all right, fine, you can blame the transporter for it, and the that's the sort of understanding you have with the transporter. And if you I mean that's the kind of understanding you have with the transporter, and then maybe have some compromise. But it's very important the for the exporter to have insurance coverage for their cargo. And insurance for their cargo, like it varies a lot from your you have marine insurance, you have transit insurance. These are the main two important parts of insurance for any exporter that way.
Hmm.
A shipping line also needs to take insurance for their vessels, for if there's anything that way which is happening. When I mean, if there's, god forbid, what we have seen in the news, and what you have seen, sometimes when there's a oil spillage, or it's been attacked. So there are many factors which come into the place, because okay, the exporter has all the right to recover the insurance from the shipping line. So the shipping line needs to for example, what happens is that the insurance gets their I mean, the importer or the exporter gets their refund, or they get their coverage from the insurance company. But the insurance company goes after the shipping line. Okay, fine, I've compensated my exporter, but I am going to recover this amount from you. Now you tell me how you're going to recompensate me on it. What happens is that these
Hmm.
shipping lines and all, when you have like a major thing, and it's unable, then they go for like a weighted average kind of it's called a weighted average coverage, where they're like, listen, we are in total loss over here, and I'm not able to compensate you. All I can do is, okay, like if it's like 100%, I can compensate you only 20% or 30%. So that's a weighted average. So many of these shipping lines, when they go for a total loss, or like if there's a total damage, this is what they go for: a weighted average, or general average, weighted average, or general average insurance. That's what it goes to. Or then
Perfect,
you say
perfect.
that they go for like something known as act of God. This is an act of God, we can't do anything about it. But that's how they protect their own interest. So this
Hmm.
is a very intense, marine insurance, a very, very intense topic, and it's a very, very big. I've just highlighted few points here and there, but it varies quite a bit. It's a too way
Hmm.
too intense, kind of it's too intense.
Right. It's very important to go deep and understand what exactly gonna happen and how they should cover entire the material, right?
Yes,
Hmm.
yes, it
Right.
is that way.
Let's say now I would like to ask some analytical questions, right? Let's say if I wanted to start export maybe today, right? Which
Uh-huh.
countries I can export? Which are the hot countries right now where most of the containers going from India, and from where most of the containers coming to India?
See, I mean, it depends which product. I mean, as I said, exports is too vast, imports is even vast. Yeah, it depends what product you plan to sell. we are special. I mean, we as Fulcrum, we specialize mostly into these temperature controlled reefer containers, and
Mm,
that's mostly for the Middle East. Middle East, where we send agro commodities, vegetables, fruits, poultry, you know, I mean, you name it, whatever temperature control, pharma, medicines, all into the Middle East. So Middle East is one for agro commodities, and for temperature control. Like it's it's a very what do you call a hot country for agro commodities. For if you go, like for example, next to Mumbai, we have this city called Nasik. That's for grapes. Grapes
mm,
in Nasik is very popular for your countries in Europe. So so it depends. Uh, I mean, for machinery products are like mostly most machineries are going into Europe or US. So I mean, if you want to start as an exporter, you have to pick your niche, what you want to do, and over there and there themselves, then only then I can, someone can guide you as to which are the countries for that kind of product you want to sell. I also
mm,
tried to be an exporter for this for agro, like onions. I was very keen on doing onion exports, but eventually, because of the rates and because of the tariffs, and there's so much of fluctuation in tariffs and rates, so that's why I'm like, okay, it's better just for me to be a logistics company and a shipping, just to be in the shipping and logistics. That's a better thing for me. Otherwise, you get buyers, you have buyers over there, and doing an import export, it's okay. You have to just put in efforts going to that country, finding buyers also over there. That's also another small very like that's a very important factor which exporters don't realize that.
mm. When you mention fluctuation of freight, is it for the container exporter kind of thing, or it's like freight for onions? What was the factor?
Yeah, it's sorry, I would say the fluctuation for the rates of the onions. So
Okay.
abroad as well, the onion rates fluctuate that way.
Hmm.
Like for
What's
example,
about
during
the
uh
Yeah. What's about the freight of container shipping? Is it like consistent? Is it like fixed, or it's like also fluctuating, just like road movement, right? We know in trucking there are factors like festivals, factor like road damages, factors like non-ability of drivers, or maybe some seasons, right? Monsoon season, summer season, all those things are there, right? What's about the container freights? Like what exactly happening there?
so see we I mean till from 2010 to around 2008, I mean 20, we had something where the rates were just the same, the freight rates were just being almost stagnant, and and the same, it was just in between, 100 $200 up down. So which, if you ask me, like 200 $200 here there, wasn't it's not too much of a fluctuation that way. But once during COVID, where everybody witnessed during COVID, this the pandemic, where like the entire supply chain got disrupted, where the entire it got disrupted, and shipments were late arrivals of shipments to various ports, to various destinations. So because of that, the entire freight rate went like, I mean, it just jumped 180, 190%, 200%, which was not unprecedented, which was never seen before for many, many years, for decades, in fact. So, and after that, after the disruption, after 22, 22, 20, 22, again, the things started cooling down a little bit. So things again got, streamlined, shipments got, I mean, freights again were going back to the normal levels. But again, we have this, again, the war, and, these issues in the Red Sea. So that's again creating a havoc with the freight rates, fluctuation and all. But other than that, before 2020, the freight rates were almost stagnant, were almost like, okay, just a little flux, up, down, up, down. But after 2020, it is just like on a, going up, raising up, coming down again to the bottom, again, it's going up, again, it's coming down that way. So it's like that. Why this happening is just basically it's because of these vessels, the schedules getting disrupted, schedules of the ships going around each port. not unable to come into that same timeline, or like the tentative schedules are disrupted that way, that makes the rates increase
Hmm.
that way.
I have one last question, and which is very much important. As of now, I feel that is important. I don't know what we were going to understand, right? But I just wanted to know if right now you wanted to pick a best of the best route for, like, which have the highest traffic, which have the highest, what I say, like, safe movement from India to any country.
Mhm.
Which route will be that?
I mean, I really am not. If you ask me, see, I can't give you like a proper, but I will be little, what do you call it? I mean, this will be a more not a fair answer because I am into the Middle East, so I will definitely tell you that I'm more keen on the Middle East part, where going to Jebel Ali, going to Sohar, going to Hamad ports. These Middle East ports for me, I mean, I'm comfortable. The traffics over there, especially my reefer traffics, are going very well in these locations, and I feel like still going ahead because these are all desert countries, so they need food, they need vegetables, they need edible things to eat, which only India will be able to provide them in the near future as well. So traffics to these countries are like, it's just going to be abnormally good and always remain good and constant even ahead, going ahead that
Hmm.
way. So it's a very biased answer, I would say. I mean, to a certain, because I am doing that. I am doing that trade, and I'm seeing that the way it's yes, there are off seasons, but there are more in seasons as well. There are more season good season, like the 8 9 months where you have a good season, and 2 3 months here there where like it's a kind of an off season. But I still feel Middle East is going to top most of these other most of these other, like volumes to other countries that way. We say, oh, volumes are increasing to other countries and other destinations, but for Middle East, it's already reached a certain level and it's going to increase even more. Yeah. So
So we are at
I
the
feel,
top peak with the Middle East, right?
yeah, Middle East, all Middle East countries, you still have that. You still have that, like, it will be like a very good niche market, competitive market, but it's still a market where you can where you can rely on the fact that you will
Hmm.
not go broke. You'll get something out of it.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much for joining. So it was great talking to you. Thank you so much.
Welcome, welcome. It was my pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. And I hope I was able to answer many of your questions that way. And definitely, I'm still open. If anybody would, you'd like to ask me any more further questions, I'm definitely open to answering those questions as well. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Appreciate it.